first thing out of your mouth when we met in person off of the matrix we call Facebook is about being yourself.
Right.
Is that something that has been rooted in how you've lived and done business since the beginning?
Oh, without question. I mean, I am the same person that I was 45 years ago, or when I first got in the real estate business, or if you grew up with me and we were 14, 16, I'm the same exact person. Yet I've worked hard and I've built a team and created success, but I have not changed. And it's funny because I remember certain people saying to me, well, Mike, you're the real estate man. How come you don't just do how come you still do $200,000 listings? Why don't you just do $1 million listings? I said, because they're my people too.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter to me whether somebody's a CEO and it's a $3 million listing or whether it's a $150,000 listing. I like helping those people, and that's who I.
So that's that character trait or that idea, right? That idea of how to live. Was it a who or a what that instilled that in you? Like, was it something that occurred in your life, or was it a mentor that would you think gave you that mentality? Because that's not everybody.
Yeah. Okay. So not to get too deep, but pretty much, I was born with a smile. I was born with optimism, and I was born with empathy.
Wow.
So in school, say that there was a fat kid in the class and he was getting picked on.
Me, you mean?
Okay, you were? Okay. So I became your friend, where none of the cool people would talk. I became your friend. Yet I could hang with the cool people, yet I would help protect that. So I always had empathy for the person that was being picked on in a sense. And I can identify. I could hang out with a plumber guy and I could totally identify. I could hang out with a CEO and I could identify. So I just see things automatically that I like in people.
Well, number one, I wish I had a time machine so I could go back and have a friend like that because it was difficult.
Yeah.
Don't regret anything because it's made who we are today.
Right.
That workout addiction. It's interesting because growing up, I can resonate with. My mother always had a book in her hand. Mm-hmm. They were more of the Harlequin novels, so I wasn't so much personal development, the romance novels. That made me want to become more well-read.
Okay.
Was it a family member that inspired you to look on the brighter side of things? Or you believe it's genetic?
It's a lot of it's genetic. It was just the way that I was born. I was raised with my mom and 3 sisters and a lot of love. So we didn't have money, but we had lots of love.
Wow.
But my mom said, Mike, from the moment you came out of me, you were smiling. She's there. I'd go in the morning and the other kids would be crying and you'd be smiling. But it's funny. When I was in 4th grade, we went to the library and we had to pick a book. And I picked a book on Thomas Edison.
Really?
I read Thomas Edison. I was amazed at his, how he failed 1 million times to become successful, how hard he worked. And from that moment on, I only read books about people's lives and biographies, yes, and growth and success.
How old were you?
I was 4th grade, so I was probably 10,
wow.
Something like that. So that was I never read anything else except for the history of people's lives, whether it's all kinds of heroes. So
4th
like
grade.
That. Yes, so 4th grade. So I like personal stories, and I like personal, people. Again, so many people came from nothing, and how they got to where they are, today.
I had the pleasure of interviewing Barry Habib. He's one of the top originators in history. It's like $2 billion in personal volume, owns a coaching company. It was the sediment left to him by his mother. I'll never forget it. They had no money. His father wasn't in the picture. And this impacted me. He was saying that he's that age in that 10, 9 formative years. Mm-hmm. They had no money, and someone was asking for money on the street, and she gave him like a penny. He's like, what are you doing?
Right.
This is just what we do.
Yeah.
And it was like, that switch went on.
Yeah. Well, that's what my mom invited anybody into our house. Back in our day, you were out on the street, in the morning. No parents wanted any kids in their house. It was go out and, come back at lunchtime or come back at dinner time. But my friends used to say, Mike, let's go talk to your mom, because my mom loved everybody. And she was just very inviting. And we'd be telling my mom when we were 12, 14, crazy stories. She'd be like, oh, be careful, guys, be careful. You would never tell any parent what we would tell my mom. So my mom was very accepting.
Okay.
And she was very loving. So a lot of it came from that. But my parents went through a divorce when I was like 11 or 12 or something like that. And so it was just my mom and 3 sisters and I. Wow. And there was no food in the house. And I knew the finances when I was 10 or 11. And so that made me say early on, I am never going to live like this.
Wow.
My life will not be like this. I don't care what I have to do. I will work my butt off. But actually, let me jump back. Prior to that, the biggest hard work, because I am a hard worker, and I love what I do. But the biggest, one of the early cases for me was, I was about 8 years old. My friend and I were looking in this magazine, and I saw there was a kit for a kayak, and it was $28. And you buy it, and they would send you this kayak. And so we talked about, and I was always a dreamer, talked about saving up for this kayak. And so he leaves, so I'm cutting grass, selling pretzels, raking leaves, doing all kinds of stuff, carrying groceries at the A&P. And so I saw my friend, I don't know, a week or two later. I'm like, his name was Danny Hudson. Hut, hey Hut, how much money you got saved for the kayak? He said, what kayak? I said, the kayak we're going to build. And he's like, what? He forgot all about it. So I took this as we had made a commitment to save up for this kayak. And we were going to share it, and we were going to enjoy it. I went home like crying. And my mom and dad were like, I was so upset. And they're like, listen, you save up your $14.50, we'll kick in $14.50. So I saved it, and I took months.
Yeah.
And they chipped in, and we got this kayak. Kayak comes to our house. We put this kayak together. Friends helped me. And you know what? We took that kayak to Washington's Crossing. There's a canal there.
Yeah.
And every summer, we took that kayak, and I loved that kayak. I enjoyed that kayak. It was just unbelievable.
Yes, would you say?
Yes, and that moved on from a mini bike. All my friends, their parents were buying them mini bikes. We were 10. I want a mini bike. I said, Michael, you can have one, but we can't buy it for you. So I started saving up for a mini bike. About a year later, I remember that was $105. My parents split it with me for Christmas, and I had saved $55. I mean, I was saving my lunch money.
Wow.
I was just making money, counting. I would count it practically every night. The quarters and dimes and nickels, they were of value back then.
Yeah.
And I got that mini bike, and when I got that mini bike, I drove that more than anybody. I took care of that more than anybody, and I enjoyed that more than my friends that were given that mini bike. So I learned early on that the reward of earning things yourself is, I mean, I became the best rider. I would be in school. Unfortunately, I'd be in school, just couldn't wait to get out of my mini bike. Like I went for my mini bike.
Too bad. We don't know regrets there. It's interesting that there was a positive reinforcement to your commitment that you made to get that kayak.
Yes.
And now, would you think that how you were raised in love and also coming from scarcity, which I can empathize with, I think a lot of individuals who own companies can, was that scarcity and then the opportunity to get it, and then you taking that, being committed? Did that commitment, do you think, comes from the scarcity or the adversity that you were facing growing up?
Oh, without question. But it was a focus. And later in life, I would put things on the refrigerator or whatever. But no, it became with the focus. And one of my favorite sayings is, and I got this from a mentor, but I did this before I knew the wording. But it sounds so silly and so tacky and so old school. But if you believe, you can achieve. And I believed that I was going to have that mini bike. I visioned that mini bike. Nothing was going to stop me from having that mini bike. Just like when I'm 12, 13, 14, 15 in school, and middle school, high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I told everybody, I will not be poor. I used to say, I will be a millionaire. And teachers used to be like, well, what are you going to do? I don't know. But I'm going to find it, and I'm going. And that's all I ever believed.
Dead laser focused.
Dead laser focused. And I was one of those that, unfortunately, I did not know what I wanted to do. But I used to say to my mom, I started a dishwashing job when I was 12.
Okay.
Back of an Italian restaurant, big restaurant, and I became a dishwasher. I was 12. Most of the people in there were 16, 17, 18.
Was that your first job?
That was my first paid job by somebody.
Got it, okay.
My first jobs were 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I was Tony Alvino's on Street Road in Ben Salem. I grew up in the far northeast Philly, the very edge of Philly, Parkwood. And I got this job from knocking on doors to get a job. A guy let us in, hired me at 12. He probably couldn't do that now. And I was working with these dishwashers, all older guys. And I worked my head off. And I remember them saying to me, yo, slow down, man, slow down. I'm like, what are you talking about? I enjoyed it. And months later, the owner, used to come back and see me, and the word got out how hard I worked, and he's there, I'm moving you to prep man.
Wow.
So I moved up to prep man in a couple months, and then I moved up to short order cook. And so I saw
More
the benefits
positive affirmation
of
and reinforcement.
hard work, yes. And but at that point, I bought a dirt bike, bigger Suzuki RM 125.
And you're in your teens.
I'm
in
like
school.
12, 13, 14. When I was in high school, I would work 4 o'clock Friday afternoon until 2 in the morning, Saturday 4 to 2, and Sunday 4 to 10. So that was through high school.
And then Monday through Friday, you were in your school.
I would go to high school.
Would you say that school was something that you had to work really hard with? Were you like me and didn't listen at all and just skated by and then just got kicked out? What was that for you? It's interesting.
Yeah. I was only good if I was interested in it.
Interesting.
I have the worst Philly accent. I could not stand English. I used to say to myself, how is this going to make me any money? I hated English. So was I a good student? I was a mediocre student. Of course, when I went to high school, you have to pick in our school was George Washington. It was 6,000 kids in the school.
Wow.
You had to pick whether you're going to be the academic course and go to college.
Yeah.
And back then, again, this is in the 70s.
It wasn't cool to be an entrepreneur.
Well, there was no such. I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was. But back then, not as many, like where I grew up, people weren't, I'm going to college, Not like today. Today, you have to go to college. So most of my friends weren't going to college. I took the academic course because I was going to go to college. And, but French and English and algebra, I hated it. So I just did so I would say I was a C student.
It's interesting, there's a book by Robert Kiyosaki, have you heard of it?
Yes.
Where he talks about, he has so many.
Yeah, so many books, yeah.
Today I was looking at a quote, it was, A students work for C students and B students work for the government. It's one of his quotes. Yeah. So you just got me right there. I don't know which one it was.
I was C student. And
that would be the title of the book or something.
Unfortunately, I would think that I was wasting my time. I couldn't wait to get out and make money.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. So I'm working hard, and then I became a busboy there. I was making more money. But I was always working hard. But I used to say to my mom, because the waitresses would give me, here's extra, because I would work so hard. They'd say, don't tell the other people, and they would give me extra. And so the reward, and again, I loved everybody. I would do anything. I wasn't lazy. But I remember saying to my mom, I wish I could find a job where the harder you work, the more money you made.
Interesting.
Because I was working, harder than anybody, and we were pretty much making the same money. It didn't bother me, but I thought, wow, if I could find a job. I was in a blue-collar neighborhood, cops, firemen. I took the police test twice.
Really?
Got a 97 and 98, but minorities and vets got 10 points, so I didn't get in. And back then it was the baby boom. You could not, by the time I got out of high school, you could not get a job at McDonald's. Because
was this Ford or was this Carter?
This was Carter.
Okay.
So it was the end of, to us.
Yeah.
It was the end of America. They were burning our flag in Iran.
I mean, this is
the gas lines. I graduated in 77, but 79,
and Reagan
80.
didn't come into 81?
Yes.
So 77, 81 was rough.
Beyond. You could not get a job anywhere. People were, so I got out of high school. I had decided, I went to college for a day. And I just said, I can't support myself, and I can't do this, and I don't know what I want to do because I'm taking these literature courses and stuff. So I bailed on college. I had a scholarship. I bailed on college. I didn't want to stay in the restaurant business because I saw where the people who were 40 and 50 were. I didn't want to be there.
Was there a ceiling to their their character could get them as far, but the reward wasn't there.
Yeah, he wanted me to be his first waiter because he had waitresses, his first waiter. But I left when I was 17. My first job out of high school, my buddy got me a job, Southern Line. It was working in the sewers for the city of Philadelphia. It was a subcontractor. So I worked in the sewers for the city of Philadelphia from 9 a.m. till 6 in the morning. And it was my first real man's job. $4.50 an hour. So we would drive in, we would go into this warehouse, load up our pickup trucks with these winches and equipment, drive out through the streets, open up manholes, go down there. I would have a full suit, a harness on in case it burst, and I would cement stuff down in the sewers. And guess what? I freaking loved it. I loved it. And I'm working with guys that are 25, 35, 45, 50
and you're 18?
engineers. I was 17.
17.
I graduated at 17.
Wow.
And that was my first job. But then the economy changed. That job closed down. We got laid off, and that was when everything got laid off. So I could not. No one could find a job. So all my friends and there's members of baby boom. So there were 30 of us. We hung up at a playground. There were 30 of us hanging out.
Wow.
None of us had jobs. Nobody had jobs. The steel mills were closing. The auto stores were. The car manufacturers were closing. People's parents were getting laid off. So we looked to us. Russia was expanding. To us,
it's a scary time.
It was a horrible time. It affected me to who I am today. Without question.
I'd love for you to give a talk at a high school with 17-year-olds today compared to the...
There's no comparison. But even that downturn in 2008 was nothing compared to what we saw.
The late 70s, wow.
Yeah.
And then Reagan on his horse. I mean, I like Reagan, though.
Dude, we were in my house.
Real estate was good to us.
We were in my house. We knew nothing about politics. Reagan gave his speech. Shining City.
Yeah.
So all my friends, we're all buzzed. We're drinking and smoking pot. Because that's all you did.
Yeah.
You couldn't do anything else. It's just sorry, but that's the way it was. And we hear Reagan. We just stand up. We start saluting. We get my flag down in the basement. We put it out front. My mom had a job. She's a receptionist. She comes home. She's like, "This looks like a damn fort," because we're all getting patriotic because
this is amazing. Yeah.
And also 1980 when we beat the Russians in the hockey game. Unbelievable. Yes. Okay. It was, but they had really pros, and ours were like college kids.
Wow.
That was Miracle on Ice, that movie.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
That was 80? Okay.
That was 1980.
That's huge.
But to us, it looked like the country was ending because Iran was burning our flag, 40 hostages. We had a failed attempt to rescue them. Russia was taking over countries. They were bigger militarily.
The wall's still up for many years.
Wall still. We never envisioned a wall would go down. Never even close.
Wow.
And it was horrible. So steel mills were closing. So I'm looking for jobs. Can't find jobs. Can't even hustle on my own. But I wasn't complacent. I take this phone call. I make a phone call. Guy says, "Yeah, come in for an interview. It's a Saturday afternoon." I'm like, "Okay." So I drive to Burlington, New Jersey, and I go in. This guy puts me in a room. He says, "Hey, my name's Bucky. How you doing?" Puts me in a room, and he shows me a movie. And it's Chuck Connors, the Rifleman. So there was a show called The Rifleman back in the 60s. And it was like this, we watched Westerns, John Wayne, and it was just, Westerns were a big thing. The Rifleman he was a quiet dude who got a rifleman. He was just awesome. So he's doing this movie. And this movie's showing you, he's talking about entrepreneur. He's showing you houses in Florida. He's showing you tennis courts. He's showing you helicopters. He's showing you boats, beautiful women on boats. He's showing you all kinds of stuff. And you can have this, you can have this. And I'm like, going crazy in there, right?
Reagan speech again.
And then at the end, they show you what it is to do that. And they make it look real fancy. It's a vacuum cleaner that does like 17 different things, shampoos, carpets. And that's what the job was, selling $644 vacuum cleaners. Remember, gas prices had tripled. Interest rates were 21%. Right? It was This was 79.
Okay.
79.
So you're 19, 20.
So I'm 19 years old. Yeah, so 79. So he says, "Come in Monday for training." So Monday I go in training. Nice attractive women showing. There's like 20 people in the class showing us. By the end of the week, so you're selling a $650 vacuum cleaner, door to door.
That's a big investment in it. That's massive.
Dude, that's like...
What is inflation? $5,000?
Yeah,
it's like today.
It's probably about $3,000 or $4,000 easily.
Oh my gosh.
So by the end, there's 20 in the classroom. and this woman's teaching it. By the end of the week, there's like 7 or 8 people. So we get assigned to a crew next week to go out door to door, carrying a $650 vacuum cleaner, knocking around Levittown, Fairless Hills, and stuff. By the end of that week, there's like two of us left. The guy, James B. Marion III. So he's my first big-time personal mentor.
Wow, James B. Marion III.
James B. Marion III. He is the son of Holocaust survivors.
Wow.
So they came here. He, first generation, he's going through law school. He needs to work. He can't get a job. He starts selling vacuum cleaners. He did so well selling Kirby vacuum cleaners, became a multimillionaire. He graduated law school, he got his law degree, but he ended up having multiple franchises. He was about 64, 65 at that time, but he owned a house in Yardley. He had a tennis court. He had an airplane. He had a house in Florida. But that guy was in the office at 7 o'clock, 6 or 7 o'clock every single morning. He went home at 3, pumped us up. So
interesting.
So he would... Each morning, we would go into the office at about 8 o'clock in the morning. I drove, it was about 45 minutes from my house. And again, I'm driving an 8-cylinder car. You know, gas is $1 a gallon, which was so big. I was using $20 every other day for gas, which was insane.
That's huge back then.
So we'd go there. We'd go in the morning, and they'd be playing music. And then Jim would come up to the front stage, and we'd sing songs.
Are you serious?
No.
This is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't it a wonderful sensation when you made the perfect demonstration? Never worry, take your time, get them on the dotted line. Kirby's we sell.
Stop.
And, yeah. So,
my God.
But then
he's a cultural messiah.
Unbelievable.
It's amazing.
But the guy worked his butt off, and he used to be like, I have more energy in my little finger than this 20-year-old does. Right. So he would, and today it probably wouldn't fly.
I got some people I can introduce you to.
So he would run this meeting, right? He'd run this meeting,
Yeah.
and then there'd be a board up front, and he'd bring each one up. So how many appointments did you have yesterday, Jay?
Wow.
Oh, and he would tear your ass apart. Excuse me, but he would tear you apart. And Joe, how many did you have? Well, I had 3 appointments. Fantastic. Let's hear for Joe. So he would make you feel good. McCann, how many did you have? So each person would go up there, and he would belittle you, or he would praise you.
Wow.
So like today it'd be like discrimination or harassment or something.
Yeah.
But so you wanted to do the way that he did it. You wanted to be good at the next meeting. You wanted to make James B. Marion III proud.
Wow.
But he taught me never, never, never give up. McCann, the harder you work, the luckier you're going to get. Okay? And he would made it real simple. And I do this with my agents today. He said, if you close 1 out of 3 people, you get it in front of.
Yeah.
Because the idea was to get in the house. Because we'd come up, people like, no, Kirby, don't. They wouldn't let us in the house. We'd be like, come on, Jay, I just want to shampoo your carpets. It's free. There's no cost, no obligation. Get in there. If I got in that house, the averages for me personally was 1 out of 2.5 people I would meet. I would get in the house. I would sell a $644 vacuum too. Wow. So he said, so if you want 3 sales, how many appointments do you need? Very simple. 9. He said, you could go 9 appointments and not have 1 sale. Then 10, 11, and 12. The averages never lie. So he'd have the board up here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He said, how many appointments? So I talk to agents. I say, I still use a week at a glance book. So I have a lot of old school traits. But I say to my agents, how many houses did you show this week? I'm working my head off and blah, blah, blah. How many houses did you show this week? 2. Well, how can you sell? The first thing I teach my agents and myself is when are you available, morning, afternoon, or evening? And get the appointment. Get in front of the people. Don't sit there on your computer and let me know.
Busy time.
Yes. Someone calls me, someone emails me. I'm thinking about selling my house. Fantastic. Thanks for calling me. When are you typically available? Morning, afternoon, or evening? I want to get that appointment. If I look at my book, the more listing appointments I have, the more listings I'm going to get. It's the percentages.
Would you say that mindset started at your early 20s with that mentor?
At 19 years old with James B. Marion III. Absolutely.
How many years are you with him?
So then, and Jim used to say, if you're not a success by the time you're 30, you're going to be a loser. And he would really,
he was really blunt.
He was brutal, but he did it. He cared. So my friends, they're all laughing. McCann selling vacuums. So I'm hanging up this playground, with a bunch of dudes, a bunch of jocks, a bunch of potheads, a bunch of beer drinkers. There was 3 different groups. There was probably about 60 people at this playground that I hung at. And our group and the younger guys and the older guys. But so they were laughing. I'm selling vacuums. The 3rd week, I sold 3 vacuums.
Oh my gosh.
I made, I forget what it was, but it was like $700 or something like that. And
That's huge.
And I won a jukebox. So back then it was the disco era. So I won this jukebox, the turntable, the 8-track, and the flashing lights. So it was my 3rd full week. So I came pulling up in front of the playground with this jukebox hanging out of the back of trunk of my car. Pull up in front of the playground, got jukebox. Was like, what's this? Because everybody's sitting on the wall. And I whip out the money. I'm like, like this. They're like, oh my God. I was a hero after that.
That's
after
amazing.
that, everybody's so how's it going, Mike? How's it going? But by the 2nd year, I was making more than my father, who was a college professor with a doctorate degree. So I'm 20 years old. By my 2nd full year, but I was working 8 in the morning. I'm in the office, going out working, grab a little bit of lunch, working again, grab a little bit of dinner, working again. So I'm working 8 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, Monday through Saturday.
Has anyone ever brought it to your attention that journey might have started when you were 10 and you read that first biography?
I mean, I know that's where it came from, because if I had not had that fortitude, that desire, you would never have done that. How many people, I know so many people that say, oh, I sold vacuums, I sold electronics, I sold encyclopedias, but no one did it for 3.5 years.
Yeah, that's commitment.
So by the time I was 21, I opened up a franchise with somebody in Delaware. Me and him opened up a franchise in Delaware. So that taught me about hard work. The harder you work, the luckier you can get, entrepreneurial, and how to deal with people. Now, selling vacuums, so I would go in someone's house. It's much more pressure than selling real estate.
Yeah.
Selling real estate is I call it patient persistence overcomes resistance.
I like that. Patient persistence.
James B. Marion used to say, persistence overcomes resistance. Persistent. But in real estate, I added the one word. Patient persistence overcomes resistance. Just follow up, follow up, follow up. Say what you do and do what you say. But I would go into somebody's house and I'd be 19 years old. We'd only do it with the parents at home. People had more time then because you didn't have
that makes sense.
Social stuff. And I would do a demonstration. And I would be like, wait till you see the first thing I want to show you, Jay. And I'd do something and I'd vacuum. And then I'd open up this black rag and I'd put it in front of the wife's face. Look at the dirt your vacuum's leaving behind. And she. So you would be entertaining.
Okay.
And I'm abbreviating because my demonstration took about an hour.
Okay.
And then I would say to the husband, I would say, Bill, you don't want your family living in this condition, right? No. Then you can buy a Kirby. Oh, I can't afford it. Hey, Bill, if you could afford a Kirby, would you buy a Kirby?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and times are different. Everybody smoked back then.
Okay.
8 out of 10 people smoked. So one of our lines.
80% of people smoke. Everybody
smoked, yes. 80. If you watch any movies from the 70s, you see people smoking all the time. In hospitals, in the airports, in offices. So one of our clotheslines used to be, okay, well, you smoke, Jay, right? Yeah. Well, how much do you smoke a day? Most people smoke 2 packs a day. Is that crazy? So what are cigarettes? They're like 65 cents a pack. Okay, well, Jay, if tomorrow you woke up and you needed to start smoking 3 packs a day, could you find the money to buy that? Yeah. Well, then you can afford a Kirby. Just sign right here.
And that was your...
And you just shut up and look at them in the eyes. That was how you sold back.
Was it Mr. Marion that taught me all this?
That. Yeah, taught you all that.
And to this day, it's a part of who you are.
Yeah, my kids will know the songs.
How many thousands?
I still sing the songs in the morning sometimes.
I love it.
I have multiple songs. I'm not going to bore you with all the songs, man.
Interestingly enough, we talked about the architecture of belief and what I actually do. Song and the cross-pollination of song with logo, color, vision, mission, purpose, values, and the meetings that need to happen drives human behavior. So that's part of creating architecture of belief. So what you're saying about Mr. Marion, not boring to me, and I could talk all day long because songs drive behavior.
Absolutely.
Art, song, culture, it's life. Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Yeah.
And no one have I ever talked to had a real life story of someone using song.
Yeah. Well, our first thing in the meeting would be 3 things. Boy, do I feel great. Boy, do I feel great. Boy, do I feel great. Isn't it a wonderful? And then we just go on, man. And then we do like, and again, people that couldn't dive into that culture would leave.
Yeah, they're gone on their own.
They didn't believe.
It's amazing.
And they didn't believe. But you know what? I was taking direction. I saw a successful man. I saw a successful family. And he enjoyed what he did.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to do.
Sam
and I
Walton,
loved what I did.
Sam Walton, the Walmart cheer.
Yeah.
Every Saturday, that was part of the culture.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. There was a time in your 3.5 years you did that.
Yes.
From what, 18?
I did that
19?
I did actually, 19, 20, and 21.
And then was it a who or a what that led to real estate?
Okay, so then, unfortunately, back then, the partner I took on did a lot of things that I didn't agree with.
Well, yet another thing we had in common.
Okay. Yes, and he was older and tried to take advantage. And again, because I was nice, compassionate, I got tougher as I got older. So now I'm tough. Like, I love everybody, and I give people lots of chances.
Trust to verify.
Yes,
Reagan.
but if somebody then, I can be tough as nails if I have to. I got tougher. But so he kind of devastated me a little bit. So we were in Delaware. We'd moved to Delaware, our office, and so I moved after 3.5 years. So I moved back to Philadelphia where I came. So I came back. And all my friends, oh, Mike's back. That's great. Because I used to just come up to my neighborhood for like 24 hours. I would come up Saturday afternoon until Sunday night. And I'd go back down to Delaware and work. So I came back. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So here I am, successful in selling vacuums, beautiful car, had my own place and all that stuff. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I moved back to my neighborhood, and I thought, I can't really stay here because that would be like regressing. So I moved to Center City, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I took a job at the Hilton. I went back to the restaurant business until I decided what I wanted to do. So I was room service. 5:30 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, I did room service at the 10th and Packer. Then I saw the union people were not... They had breakfast meetings for 10 people, 100 people, 40 people, all these different rooms in the Hilton, and the union people would put breakfast. Well, they were always late. They didn't do it right. So I said to the catering person, while I'm doing room service, I could do all these coffee breaks. So they let me do the coffee breaks. Well, I got tips off of all those. And then I said, you know what? I can do the checks. I can do the ordering for you. Then I would do a lunch. Let me do lunch too. So while I'm doing room service, I'm doing 3 jobs. I'm room service in all the rooms. I'm doing all the coffee breaks just myself. But they used to have 3 people do them all, just me. And then I'm doing a lunch in between my coffee breaks. Then I was working weekend nights at weddings. So I became the 3rd highest paid at the Hilton. It was the general manager, the sales manager, and me. So my catering manager, the front desk manager, the restaurant manager, everybody was upset because I'm the 3rd highest paid in the hotel within a year. But I met my wife at that hotel.
Okay,
she was a catering secretary.
2 wins.
I'd be running by, delivering my table with my coffee on it in Danish. Back then, everybody ate Danish. And I would see, she came in early before everybody else came in, so I'd see her in there, and I would bring her coffee in Danish, and we would talk. And she wasn't my girlfriend back then. We didn't go out till after that, but that's where I met her. Just bringing her coffee, being a nice guy, bringing her coffee. She was different than me. She seemed like more preppy. I was more like city. But I liked talking to her, and she's a beautiful woman. And so we became friends, but I would bring her coffee in Danish most mornings. So I worked in there. I knew that's not what I wanted to do, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So about 85, interest rates started to drop down, and real estate started to come up. And 2 of my good friends who I had made friends with, they both worked for their dad. But I respected them because they had their dad's business and were taking it to this level. Not the dad's business and sucking off of it. And in 85, they said, Michael, we're going to take a course because we're going to invest in real estate at Temple. I said, I don't work for my dad. I don't have the money. I can barely keep up with you guys. And my one friend, Jeff's like, Michael, just take the course. And he was a funny guy, charismatic, and he taught me a lot in life too. Yeah. And so I took the course. I'm sitting in there, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, I don't know. I'm like, oh my God, you can make commissions selling real estate. I never even heard of it. I never even thought of it. Never knew nothing about it because I always worked so hard. And I'm like, oh my God, within 10 minutes, I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. So
You're 25.
I was at that point. I was 25. So I started to take the courses. So I would be still
At Temple?
At Temple, I took every course at Temple. Barbara Corns taught me, fundamentals 1 and 2 or whatever it was. But so I remember I'd be at the Hilton. So whether we said a wedding or a dinner or whatever, and then in the break, I'd be reading real estate. And then then there were people there that were 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 would be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But I would just be reading so I could pass the course. And I did that. And then my, passed the test. And then my one friend said, the same friend Jeff said, oh, my buddy just opened up a real estate company. She said, you should work for him. So I put on some old suit, you know what I mean? And I met him and he's like, oh yeah, you can make a lot of money in real estate. He was like my age, the guy. His dad had been in commercial real estate. So my office it was a Trinity house, 433 Bainbridge Street. It was, first floor was receptionist, second floor was a conference room, and his office is in the first back. And down in the basement was a bookkeeper and my little office. And so I didn't know it. They did property management. They just managed properties. They did not sell real estate.
Interesting.
So I taught myself to sell real estate.
They just let you keep your license there?
I had my license there. It was a family business. They just managed
People's
hundreds
properties.
of properties. Again, they would sell real estate from the property they were managing and wanted to sell it, but they were not selling real estate.
It wasn't like a well-oiled machine.
No, they weren't selling at all. They weren't aggressively doing, and they weren't marketing.
Was that your intent the minute you realized that you could make commissions in real estate to sell?
To sell real estate, absolutely, yes. To sell real estate because the harder you work, the luckier you get, and the more you.
It's almost as if all those years of learning,
yes,
and adversity, overcoming the victory, all of that led to that moment.
Yes.
Was there a mentor, or there was just an opportunity in that moment?
There really was just an opportunity. Guy I worked for, still love him today, love the family. But that's not what they did. But James B. Marion was in my head.
Wow.
If you believe you can achieve, never, never give up, the harder you work. So what I did, just like when I picked up that book in 4th grade, I read, again, we didn't have the internet, so I read the NAR magazine, the PAR magazine. I took every course at Temple. Most agents get their license and that's it. They stop their education. Took every course at Temple. Took a sales training course with Alan Dom, the king of condos.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Took every course.
Cool.
Then I would go to the national convention, to the state convention. So I was getting my information outside of the marketplace. But because I had gone door to door before, I was running off copies of flyers, handing stuff out door to door. My wife helped me hand out with the kids stuff door to door, and I started to grow. So June of '86 was when I hung my license. In 1988, I was the #1 agent in Philadelphia for transactions. I did 90 transactions. 1988. 90 transactions. You didn't have in-house mortgage companies. You didn't have in-house title companies. And you didn't have a conveyancer. So I cleared every title. I filled out the city certification form, got the check from the broker, addressed the envelope, and mailed it. We didn't even have fax back then. Fax came about 87, 88, but you couldn't really use it. It would roll up. So everything was FedEx. Settlements took 90 days. You went to the lender. You went to the title company. Waiting an IVT title. But I did 90 transactions, and I still went in for the first year and a half in real estate. I still went into the Hilton 5:30 in the morning till about 10:30 in the morning, and I still worked weddings my first year and a half.
So the first year and a half,
so that was
you were
86
working that job at the Hilton.
Yeah, I bought somebody else on bought some
10.
Till about 10:30. I bought somebody else on to do my lunch and to do my coffee breaks in the afternoon, and I would still do weddings, just because
So your time block was split. In the morning, you did what you had to do to pay the bills.
Yes.
In the afternoon and evening, what did you do? Door knock?
Yes. So I would hand stuff out. I would take buyers out. I would be in the office. I remember even back then, people saying, "Whenever I call, I always get you." I created an ad. I said, we have to do an ad in the South Florida Review. We have to do an ad in the weekly. So I created ads. And I didn't even have open houses. They didn't have listings. So I didn't have open house. So I would just work buyers, and then that was it. But then this is what's killer, and this makes me sound old. My wife says I shouldn't talk about the '80s because that's
no.
Most people today weren't even born in the '80s that I'm dealing with.
That's why they need to hear it. History humbles.
So, 90 transactions, $3.5 million. So that's an average deal of about $40,000.
Yeah, like today.
I do that in a day sometimes. Yeah. So can you and you're talking 90, 100 hours.
Well, based on your average now as the team, that's like $45 million.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
A few years in. What were the early '90s like for you?
Okay.
Or that progression of, because success can swallow us up and spit us out.
Okay. So the blessing that I had working for a company that didn't have training or anything like that was I got information from outside the marketplace. So I'm going to conventions. I'm talking to people from California, from Toronto, from San Francisco, from Chicago. So I'm seeing things, because we're a conservative market. Things happen in other places, and then they roll to Philly.
Interesting.
So I was always
the
ahead
sixth borough.
Yes, I was always ahead of the game. So I started to become ahead of the game. 89, 90, the Tax Reform Act of 86, which was a Reagan thing, changed all the rules in investing, and it became effective. So before, doctors and lawyers were making big dollars. And I feel bad for doctors now because their income have gone down.
It's changed, the hours.
It's so
the culture.
sad, yes. But they would buy real estate for losses. And
depreciation.
They would, yes, and they could take that off of their ordinary income. They changed the law so that you can only take losses off real estate from gains on real estate, not off of your ordinary income.
Got it.
The depreciation stayed, but what I'm saying is if you made $800,000 a year, but you owned real estate that lost $100,000, you're only taxed on $700,000. You could take that off of your ordinary income.
Got it.
They changed the law. The bottom line is 1989, 90, the market started to change. 91, 92, market was horrible. Everybody's values went down 20, 30, 40, 50%. Every major firm in Center City left. So 1988, 1989, you had Weicker, big office, Caldwell, big office, Century 21, big office, all kinds of companies. By 92, every single company left Center City. Merrill Lynch, which was the company I work for now, they got out of it, but Prudential bought Merrill Lynch.
Okay.
And came in. So Prudential was the only name player that happened to come in the market as everybody else was leaving. So, and I don't know what the numbers were, but it was about 35 or 40% of all realtors nationally left the business. And that market downturn lasted probably about 7 years. So I remember selling properties for, I sold this one property in 92 for $342,000. They had paid $680,000 for that in 88. Fortunately, I found a couple partners in the early 90s who were doctors who had money, still had money, and they wanted to buy real estate, so I partnered with them. So we were buying triplexes, and I was selling that people paid, say in Queen Village, paid $224 for $75,000.
So you saw this time as an opportunity.
Well, I did, but I didn't have that much money because I had a wife and 3 kids at that time. So I took partners. Back then, interest rates were still higher. Interest rates were about 10 or 11%, and you needed 30% to put down. So that was a
difficult thing to start.
Yes.
I'm curious. You've been through partnerships that hadn't worked out.
Yes.
Like myself and many others that have had businesses.
Yes.
And the T in Culture Matters stands for trust in yourself so you can trust others. That's in the company.
I like that.
So thank you. Where did that come from for you to give, I guess, permission to yourself to outgrow that?
Yeah. The harder you work, the luckier you get. So that was an opportunity that came to me, not even an opportunity I seeked. So in the late 80s, I did take on a partner.
Yeah.
That partner went bad. But in the 90s, the people that came to me said, we want you to invest with us. I said, I'd love to, but I don't have the cash to outlet. We want you to handle everything. We'll put your cash up And when we sell the property, you can pay that back to us.
Did you say maybe that showed that they trusted in you?
That trusted
and
in
not
me.
vice versa.
They trusted in
Interesting.
me. They came to me. I could not believe it. It was the smartest move they ever did because I took that trust and treated that even more than if it was mine. And since they made millions of dollars from the value and equity.
It's amazing.
Over
it reminds you of the agents that don't take the contract or don't get a contract signed before they work with someone. It's like the contract is a reflection of their trust in you to work with them.
Right.
It's like those people showed you that they weren't going to take advantage of you by saying, we trust you enough to take the money and do what you need with it.
Yes.
Versus the people in our past where it might have been us doing the work and them reaping the benefit.
Yes. Well, I do tell agents if they were partners, I say to be very skeptical in partners. The only person I would ever partner with is someone who is wealthier than me and allows me to and allows me more of the control.
Okay.
Like, so I wouldn't, like lots of people are constantly want me to invest and
I
like
can
give me
imagine.
this and give me
Inundated.
that. I do, my policy is I don't invest with anybody. But to me, someone who is wealthier and lets you handle everything. And so I took that and just said, I will do whatever it takes to make sure that they, that I'm honest, that they do well with the product.
Wow.
So that was early. But so between 1990 and 1997, you could have bought anything in Society Hill for under $250,000. You could have bought a 6-unit building for $200,000. It's crazy. You
So
can't buy a studio
32
for that.
years in the Philadelphia market. In the top 0.5% of all realtors in the country, it's obvious based on your character, openness to other people, clear commitment, conviction, vision, grit, like all these archetypes of character are popping in my head from all the freaking biographies I've read and people I've dealt with. What's your vision for the next 10 years in real estate as it relates to you personally and in your business?
Yeah.
So you have this amazing team and
Let me
this
just
company.
say one more thing before I get to that question is what I learned early on in real estate, everybody cooperates. I said, oh, there's two sides to a transaction. There's the listing side, the selling side. So I said to myself, if everybody cooperates, I want to have the best reputation in the marketplace. I want to be the most knowledgeable in the marketplace. I'm already the hardest working. And that's why since 1988, every year, since 1988,
Like McCann, the real estate man.
No one has even sold close to what I have sold. And it's not like
Nowhere
team,
near it.
Not
No,
even
it's
close.
obvious.
Not even-
It's obvious,
but,
yeah.
And it's not, yes, I have a team and it's grown.
Yes.
I was the first one to have a buyer specialist. I was the first one to hire an assistant in 1989-90. First, my wife was an assistant. But I'm on the street guy. It's not like all these numbers are from people working for me. I am on the street. That's what I do. But that relationship among agents, plus the same thing with the clients, is what grew my business.
So your relationship with the agents with
yes.
the clients.
Yes.
And to me, it's as if you've embodied the archetype of your mentor.
Yes.
Mr. Marriott.
Yes.
Who was a badass.
Yes. Badass, tough as nails. And I want everybody to be successful. You don't threaten me if you're working with another company, if you're working in my company. I want you to be successful because if you're successful, I'll be more successful. I can't always help dozens and dozens of agents who aren't on my team or whatever, advice, directions. So giving freely comes back to you.
So that brings me to my last question
I'm
there.
sorry.
No, it's amazing. Very valuable. Coming full circle, it seems that in your nature is a coach, is a mentor, is a speaker, which we didn't even get into, but it's obvious. There's a burning desire to give that I can empathize with because life just kind of throws at us that responsibility sometime. Where is your future taking you? I mean, for the next 10, 100 years. I'm a big believer in modern science, but seriously.
Yeah. That's being determined. I'm committed. My team is my family, 6 assistants and 18 agents. So I'm committed to, again, being I am the rainmaker, and committed to them and watching them grow. And I enjoy bringing these millennials up and having them grow. Do I not want to be out till 9 o'clock at night every night? Probably at some point. but I want to inspire people. So yes, inspiring people. I have people that want to write my book, you know what I mean, and stuff. So speaking and coaching, it's so funny. It's evolving where I am right now. I still enjoy what I do, and that saying is so true. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
So, quite literally, this isn't something that you even cross your mind every day because you're you're present in what you love.
I'm present in what I love, but it does cross. I'll be 60 years old. It does cross my mind. Like I travel. I have nice things with my wife, but I even want to do more time. You know what I mean? So what am I going to do and still be in the business? So I want to coach. I'm not leaving the business at all, but I'm just trying to.
I think we'll have you for a long
So I don't know. So it's constantly evolving.
Yeah, but there's a book.
Oh, I don't have
on the horizon.
But I've had many that want to write my book. And
Mike McCann and Jay Duran, the culture man, right? The real estate man, the culture man.
Yeah,
come together.
But I tell my son,
see it.
Like, yes, I'm a great success, but compared to other people, I'm a loser. So that's why you compare yourself with yourself. Every day you compare yourself with yourself because you can always find somebody richer. You can always find somebody poorer. Am I better today than I was yesterday? Am I doing what I want to do? So don't compare yourself with other people. Social media, people, okay, they do this, they do that. You don't really know. Compare yourself with yourself. And
you've been reading since a young age. Do you continue to read biographies?
It's so funny. I do, but not ever since the freaking iPhone. Cause I used to read on vacations a lot when I have more time. Because I'm too tired. When I get home at night, if I start to read, I fall asleep. I don't read as much as I used to because I'm on social media. Access to me is so much easier. Before I'd go down to the beach and I'd be reading a book, right?
Yeah.
So not as much. I have stacks of books. I gotta read,
let's
man.
see, a curse though. We met on social media. Audible? Audiobooks?
It's funny. So I just did an audiobook. Okay. I got to get more.
Me and Jim were talking about it when I saw him at Open House a while back. We listen to a lot of the same audiobooks.
Yeah,
I'll get you a couple solid ones.
See, I really have to because I believe if you want to grow, you're 20, 30, 40, any age really, but you have to be inspired from outside sources. I mean, it inspires you. That's early on. I got involved with the Board of Realtors. I volunteered. That helped me grow, gave me connections. Lots of different avenues in my life I volunteer.
Learning, commitment, vision, grit.
Yes.
Doing what you say, leading by example, loving what you do. My mind is exploding. I do want to know, if you could go back to 1985, what's one thing you'd tell yourself that you've learned in the last 32 years in real estate? What would you tell yourself?
What would I tell myself? That's good. I wouldn't change a thing.
Wow.
I would not change a thing. I have a beautiful family, beautiful team, great success, fun, clients. What I like about real estate is I'm just not like, Mike sold it. It's like, oh, you're selling? You got to use Mike. He helped me do this and this and this. I love the things. I always tell people if I was, selfish, I would have retired 10 years ago and sailed the sea and traveled all over the place. It's not about money anymore where it was initially. It's about value. But key things, compassion, love, hard work, charity, and having fun. You gotta have fun.
Well, I was having a nice conversation with Gaurav, and your name came up a couple times. I can see why. You guys are spirit animals. This was awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yes, we're gonna do more of this.
Okay, man. Thanks.
God bless you.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was great. Great to meet you.